Hi, I'm Saket Bansal, and in this video, I'm sharing another 10 questions for your PMI-ACP preparation. Before we get into the details, I want to share a little bit about our program and the reason behind adding 10 more questions to our existing 140. Now they will be 141 to 50 because we are extending the video series. So we do have our own program which helps people, participants to get ready for PMI-ACP. I do run PMI-authorized training program, which is a contact hours program using PMI content. On top of that, I also have a test prep program where the main attraction of that program is 800 plus questions, which helps you in preparing for PMI-ACP. These questions covers the whole exam content outline well. In our test prep section, we have domain specific questions. Right now, earlier we were having 50-50 questions domain test, but for product and leadership, I made 50 to 70. So I added these questions recently based on the feedback we got from our clients as well as from social media. And other than domain specific test, we have a full length test which covers the whole 120 kind of set, and we have 5 full length tests. The fifth one is same with our video questions, but the 4 full length tests are unique in nature. So if you are preparing for PMI-ACP and you might have already taken a contact hours, you are just looking for a test package, you may want to enroll to our program. It will just cost you $150. Other than the question bank, I also share some of the video content with you, which helps you in understanding Scrum, Kanban, and Agile fundamentals as a mindset very well. And it has some reading material also focusing on product domain. So there are some additional content to read, which you can also try if you are only focusing on test prep program. Now, if you are just watching our public content, then I want to remind you that we already have 140 questions, and the product domain, which I am extending further, was already covered in 3 videos before. The 30 questions, 91 to 120, were focusing on product domain. When I'm adding this new set of questions, I studied all of these 30, and I'm only taking the extended concepts, new concept or some of the concepts which were not properly tested in these 10 questions. So they are not just questions, they are extending what we have already studied in the product domain. So please make good use of it. And my purpose of these videos is not to give you just multiple choice question and you can mark something right and you feel good about it. The idea is we get to the mindset. We understand why these choices are right. In a real exam, you may get very ambiguous choices, sometimes poorly drafted questions as well. But when I have to teach you, my objective is not to confuse you. I need to keep choices clear, relatively. So make good use of this particular video content and target to understand at least 90% of the content. You may have a disagreement in some questions. You can comment it in the video section, the comment area of the video. We can discuss about it, and you may remain disagreed, which is perfectly okay. But at least 90% of our questions and answers should be matching. And if you reach to that agreement, I believe you will do great in your PMI-ACP exam. Just not focus on the question, focus on the concepts which are getting discussed in these questions. Yeah. If you have any specific query or you want a particular topic to be covered in the video, do put into the comment area of this video. I will do my best to cover that in our upcoming video series. Now, let's get started with question number 141, product domain. Question number 141. You are a product owner working on a newly approved product development initiative. Although the business case has been accepted, there is difficulty aligning over 50 key stakeholders on what features matters most. You want to collaboratively define high-level product characteristic in a way that promotes shared understanding and drive consensus. What is the most effective approach of achieving this? Yeah. So you may think it's a prioritization question, but it is not. It is taking you to a stage where you are just getting started. Yeah. So the situation is the overall objective seems to be clear because business case is approved, but there is a difficulty in aligning people on a key functionality, key details of the product. So you want to do some collaborative activities so that people get aligned to it. That's a simple question. Let's see the option. Option A, conduct a brainstorming session using 1 to 4 all liberating structure to surface features ideas from everyone. Now, the problem could be that you see these terms and you get confused. What is the meaning of 1, 2, 4 or liberating structure? So please don't get confused that way. If you are not aware about that liberating structure, you can say there is some kind of brainstorming activity this option is promoting, which will help us in coming up with some agreement. It's a brainstorming activity. So 1 to 4 talks about individual think about what they want, then they talk with someone, 2 people discussing what they want, then the 4 people discussing what they want, and then they discuss collaboratively as a whole group. So seems to be a nice structure to make people talk and agree to something. So it's a good candidate option. It talks about a facilitated brainstorming session. Looks good. Option B, conduct a survey with a detailed open and close-ended questions to gather feature level preferences. Not a bad idea at all, but not that great because it's not interactive communication. It's something that people will fill and then I will analyze. So in the agile world or in any option in a project management, whenever people can collaborate, discuss, I will always prefer facilitated workshop over getting information in the survey form. Yeah. But if the question indicates that you have a 1,000 key stakeholders, yeah, rather than only 50, then probably I go with that option. So the point I'm trying to make is that our options and questions are pretty much interconnected, and it also depends upon what are the other choices available. Yeah. So I can't take B because I already have A, which talks about collaborative conversation, so I can ignore that. Option C, conduct a facilitated workshop using a product box technique to align on vision and key product features. Now you have two options, A and C, which seems to be talking about facilitated collaborative activity, which will lead to identify what is needed in the product. Yeah. So we need to closely see these options. Let's see the option D and then we will come back. Option D, use a monopoly money game based technique to let stakeholder allocate priorities to the feature they value. It is also a possible option, but this is a further fine-grained feature refinement. It is not about reaching to a consensus, focusing on what we want to build in the product. The situation is talking about the initial stage. So I better focus on brainstorming and figuring out what we want together rather than putting a little a monopoly-based feature prioritization approach where we have a set of feature and we want to do a fine-grained prioritization of it. Yeah, but it could be a candidate option. Why I added it here? Because many of you may see a monopoly game or money word and you realize, oh, in a PMI content outline, I have somewhere read this is the prioritization technique. Looks like it's a familiar thing. Let's select it. So don't get carried away with the keywords. You need to get into little bit detail. So what is the situation? You want to align to the high level characteristic of the product. Yeah, you are not getting into the details of exact feature prioritization. That's why we are avoiding D. Now we need to compare between A and C. Both are facilitated event. The option C talks about a particular event, which you also see in your PMI-ACP content frequently if you follow PMI material. And it talks about that why don't we create a subgroups out of 50 key stakeholders? Let's create a group of 10 people. And these people will design a product box. There is a guidance about what they put into the front of the box, what they put behind, what they put as a label, what kind of image they put. And this is a creative exercise where each team come up with what they expect from the product at the end. And once we have this input, we can have a further presentation to each other and we can refine and align to what is needed in our product characteristics. Looking at the details of the interaction or a facilitated workshop, we can select option C. So in this question, I know a little bit understanding is needed about these particular techniques, but if you have some amount of study done, then you can easily choose option C. If these words are looking new to you like this, maybe it's a good idea to do some research and get familiarized with these kind of facilitation technique. They will be useful for your exam as well as for your interviews and other work, which you may end up doing later on. Yeah. So that was the question number 141, and the answer was C in this particular case. Let's go to question number 142. Yeah. You are coaching a new product owner on managing a healthy product backlog. You observe that their backlog has over 150 items, many written vaguely, lacking estimates for a near-term work, and untouched for months. So there are some items which are there. Which of the following best describes a healthy product backlog? So in a way, this question seems to be less situational, and it is basically just testing your understanding when you look at a product backlog, what is your understanding of healthy product backlog? Yeah, what is a good product backlog? So if you have studied those deep and other concepts, yeah, you probably can easily identify the answer. Relatively concept checking question only. Let's look into the option. Option A, yeah, a backlog that is fully estimated and detailed for all items and prioritized. So this option is saying that a good product backlog is expected to be detailed, yeah, for everything, yeah. So fully estimated and detailed for all items. Prioritize is a good idea, but detailed for all item is not a good idea, yeah, because you want to do incremental detailing. You know from your understanding that product backlog should be appropriately defined, not necessarily detailed. So I can easily ignore this option. Option B, a backlog that includes everything the team might ever build, well estimated and prioritized. So say the product backlog may contain things based on today's visibility of what we want to build in the product. But there will be new items get added. It doesn't contain everything the team might ever build. Yeah. As per today's visibility, it is there, but things will come later. And so we need to be a little conscious and say, I'm looking for a better option. I can't just think of that I have everything in my product backlog. It will emerge. Option C, a backlog that contain only user stories which are ready using definition of ready and prioritized. Now, I purposefully added the word definition of ready because some of you may think, oh, this word looks familiar. Most likely this is the right answer. Yeah. No. Yeah. So we understand the product backlog contain product backlog items and not necessarily all of the items are ready. The items which are coming in the near-term sprint/iterations are expected to be ready, but others may not be ready yet. That's what we expect. Then we only left with option D. Seems to be easy question, yeah? A backlog that is emergent with new insights, great. Near-term items are detailed and appropriately estimated and prioritized. So that's an easy choice you can make and say, yeah, this is the answer. And this is your option D. Now, if you have studied the healthy product backlog, you have one acronym DEEP, which talks about how to define a good product backlog. It talks about the product backlog should be detailed appropriately, which means the items which are expected to get done soon, they need to be refined well. The items which may come at a later stage, they can remain at a vague level. That's one part of the characteristic. Then the product backlog is expected to be emerging. So you are expected to have new item coming in and old item getting out. It has to be improving. It should be estimated. Not necessarily each and every item is estimated. Yeah. So you may have items which are in a near term well estimated, which means they might be in a story point. The items which may come at a later stage may be at a t-shirt sizing, but there should be some understanding of estimation on those work items. Then backlog is expected to be prioritized. Now, it is also not a good idea to assume if I have a 150 item, I have a priority from 1 to 150 in my product backlog. That's not necessary. Yeah. You may have a priority between 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. And after that, you may have a priority talking about, oh, this is somewhere between 20 to 40. Yeah. This is somewhere between 40 to 60. You may have, oh, near term, long term, too much futuristic, because there is no use of giving exactly a number till 150. So don't assume that backlog is sequentially and fine-grained prioritized, but yes, it has some understanding, may not be just comparable when it goes to a longer duration items, but the near-term items are expected to be well sequenced. That's a good understanding of a product backlog. So this question was easy, and option D is for you. So we can move to next question. Question number 143. A new team member asks you to explain how different level of product backlog items are structured, specifically how epic feature and user story relate to one another. Which of the following is best representation? Like the previous question, this question is also based on concept. Now, somebody will say, oh, looks like it's a very easy question. What I'm observing from various test takers is there is a decent amount of confusion between epic features and user stories. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that you get it, and you can expect that kind of question also coming in the exam. So let's see, out of ABC, which statements represent epic feature user story in a right light? Let's look at it. Option A, epic is a big requirement, looks good, which we divide into features and then user stories. Looks okay. It's like a work breakdown structure. We do it to ensure each story traces back to a large epic and get implemented properly. I would say the first line was good, but the second line in the option A is not a good teaching to team member. Yeah, if I'm explaining to a team member this is epic, it is not good. It is not like a work breakdown structure. Yeah, it may look like, but it is not. Reason being, it's not a guarantee that you will implement the epic 100%. You may create some slice out of the epic and you may discontinue the rest of it. It is not sliced in a one go. It is expected to be progressively elaborated. So there is no goal of traceability. Yeah. But I know many organizations use it as a traceability tool, but the core concept of Agile is not talking about ensuring traceability with epic features and user story. But depending upon what options are available in my real exam, I need to choose appropriately. But I prefer not to think that it ensures traceability. That's the thing we need to keep in mind. Let's see option B. Epic is a large idea, not yet refined. Makes sense. Yeah. So there's also a difference between option A and B. Epic is a big requirement. Big requirement, but not well refined. Yeah, that's the important element. So epic is a large idea, not yet refined. We incrementally slice from it as needed. Makes sense. Sometimes using middle layer of feature and sometimes slice directly into stories. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Looks like a candidate option. We will look into it more detail. Option C, epics are big. Yes, they are big and need to have a financial value attached to them. Possibly, yeah. Once selected for development, we implement them in few iterations by dividing them into features and stories. Yeah. So little bit connected to A, but the idea is it's not like we select an epic and we have to finish the whole epic in a one go. We will slice the epic. The sliced item also go back into a product backlog, and we may prioritize. And in the upcoming iteration, we may have other epic stories coming in. Yeah, so there is no. It's not like that we select the epic, we have to finish the whole epic. Yeah, even if working in the incremental manner. So there is no guarantee that when we are selecting the epic, we will finish all the user stories in the upcoming few iterations. We may only finish the epic partially also. Option D, feature is a big requirement that gets sliced into epic and later each epic get sliced into user story. It is reversing the hierarchy or reversing the understanding. So definitely option D is wrong. But I see many of the test taker selecting feature is bigger than epic. So please don't think like that. That could be a little confusing. Now coming back to option B, which looks a little confusing. And if that's the right one, probably you need to get the concept very, very clearly right. So epic is a light idea. Yes, it is incrementally sliced. So sliced is the difference is it is not work breakdown structure. Over a period of time, we will slice out of it. It's a big thing. We will keep some slice. We develop it. We keep the remaining epic as it is. Then we may take some more, and then we may decide not to do the rest of it. There is a possibility. Yeah. So we incrementally slice it as needed. Yeah. Sometimes using a middle layer of feature and sometimes slice directly into stories. Now that's an important point. So many of the agile frameworks will not talk about features. They just tell Epic is a big idea, and then you want to make it a smaller idea, which is a user story, and you get started with the user stories. In some frameworks, we talk about the stories might be too small for stakeholders to appreciate. Why don't you give a little comprehensive feature which stakeholder can accept and check, and they have little bigger functionality included into it? And that's why they tell, why don't you create feature which might be getting implemented with the help of multiple user stories? So when I'm dealing with the exam, there is a possibility in some questions, I may not have a features in between. I may have an epic and directly user story. But if the feature is present in the question, I will consider it. It is coming somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So this is the right answer. Now you may discover and play with the chat GPT and chat GPT may disagree with me. You can try it out. Yeah, that's something I keep seeing in my comment area. And you can comment if you are not in agreement. And again, some of the questions may remain in a disagreement state as well, but this is the best of my judgment which I wanted to put here to communicate the idea of epic features and user stories. Moving to question number 144. You are a product owner preparing for a stakeholder review. Below is your current release Burndown charts in a site, yeah, which shows the forecasted ideal progress line, red line, and the actual remaining work, blue line, across sprints. Based on the chart, what can be concluded? Yeah, so that's a question. Yeah. So you can expect these kind of questions. There will be not many, minimum 2 to 3, and maximum could be 5 to 6. Sometimes these charts are coming in a delivery domain focus where you need to see it, how the team is doing and how flow is working. But here I'm using a chart from the perspective of product domain, where the product owner is using it for forecasting the release. It's a release burndown chart. Yeah. So you have something and you want to predict what is going on looking at a release burndown chart. Now, what is visible here? It's clearly visible that your actual line, which is talking about remaining work, is above. Yeah. So you are having more work left than anticipated before. Yeah, that is very, very clear. Now, you also see it very clearly that if you go, one good thing which you observe here, the actual line slope seems to be very consistent. Yeah, so it is not like this. Yeah, it is pretty smooth line. So which means the team is doing a work which is showing some kind of pattern. Yeah, it is not something difficult to predict. Yeah, there is a smoothness here. Another thing you see, if you extend this line further like this, yeah, visually, you might head somewhere at a sprint 11 to finish this work. Yeah, that seems to be the end date. So if the question tells me that this work is going to finish somewhere in a sprint 11 and 12, I probably will consider that option right. If question tells me that you are behind the initial anticipated, I will consider that as a right option. If the option tells me that you have a predictable work, yeah, over the previous iteration, I will also select that. Yeah. So now I come back to the option and I need to select two options which seems to be right looking at this particular graph. So let's see. Now, a team has shown consistent predictable performance over 5 iterations. So yes, I'm in a 5 iteration and I see there is a consistent performance. I can say, yes, this is true. Option A looks good. Yeah. Option B, the team's current progress is behind plan and they will likely need another 6 to 7 iteration to complete the release. Looks good. Yeah. I am in a iteration 5 and anyway my line was going somewhere into 11 and 12. So I can say 6 means 11 and maybe maximum 12. So we will finish the work in a 6 or 11, the 11th or 12th iteration, which means 6 more iteration. Yeah. This is also good. I can go with option B. Now, team is unpredictable and it is difficult to forecast the release timeline? Definitely not. If this thing was not consistent, then I could say that option C is right. But here I have a clarity and I can say, no, team is not unpredictable. They are predictable, but they are slow. Yeah, as per the anticipation. Yeah, I won't say they are slow. They are slow than anticipated. Yeah, that much we can say. So they have more work left. Yeah, there could be a little bit fine grained thing, but we stick to the option. The current gap is manageable and team will still on track to finish the release on time. Yeah. So again, on time means initial forecast. Definitely we see the initial forecast. If you have to do, you need to do some maybe scope reduction or some magic so that our future burn rate comes like this. Yeah. So you need to have a steep finishing, then only it can happen at the 8 iteration, which is not clear from this particular graph. Yeah. Again, it could be the case, but that is not something which I can read from this particular graph. And anyway, I have to select two options only. And option A and B is giving me already a good indication. So I go with it. Why I have to confuse myself? So in question number 144, I can choose option A and B. Let's move and talk about question number 145. Your team is building a mobile learning platform to facilitate micro-learning during a roadmap planning session. The sales team strongly advocate for gamification and social sharing, referencing that youngest user usually expect such feature. Yeah. So younger users usually expect such features. Yeah. So we are getting an idea. Okay. Meanwhile, the subject matter expert group pushes for analytical dashboard and certification tracking, emphasizing their importance for corporate HR to monitor employee learning. Okay. Now, both group present strong reasoning, but the discussion is becoming increasingly polarized and unproductive. What should you do next to effectively move the team forward? Okay, tricky, yeah. So you are a product owner. The product owner is focusing on micro learning. There's some group of people are focusing on the gamification of the learning, and they are saying young customer base will like it. The another segment is focusing on HR oriented dashboard tracking, and they are saying HR customer will like it, and I have to move forward. Yeah, and this is becoming a heated conversation. What should I do? Option A: split the backlog between the two groups and prioritize their request in parallel. So say this can be a possibility. Now I need to go back to the question, where am I? I'm in a roadmap planning session. In a roadmap planning session, I don't have to split. Yeah. So say sometime you have a situation when you are supporting the existing application and multiple department keeps giving priorities to you, and you may maintain a separate bucket for all departments, and you may allocate capacity and say we will take care of your department features one by one because we are serving you. That's a possibility. But this question is not for these departments. The question is nowhere indicating that you need to serve these to customer base. So I don't have to create split in the backlogs. It will be a compromise thing. Yeah. Again, if I look at this particular question from a conflict management place, it will be a compromise. Why should I compromise such a critical problem? I move to the option B. Facilitate brainstorming on a user journey before getting into the details of prioritization. Possibility. So facilitation, brainstorming looks very keyword. They make you attracted and you look like, oh, this is a good option. And maybe a user journey map or a user story map also attracts you. Yeah. But the point is, user journey for people who want to use gamification may be different. User journey for HR customer might be different. When you want to talk about user journey, which user you are targeting? Yeah. So user journey may not be able to resolve this conflict. Yeah. It's a good tool to have a holistic picture, but right now we are stuck in the roadmap. It's a little detailed tool. Yeah. So I need to go to option C. Let's see. Facilitate a conversation on alignment on a shared user persona and market segment before continuing feature prioritization. Yeah. Looks good. Let's see option D first. Facilitate a conversation using Moscow so both user can agree on what is must have. So option B and D are more like a detailed one. Yeah. Like you need to do a Moscow prioritization. We will talk about feature, but right now we are talking about roadmap. We are pushing for some ideas. So let's explore the option C very clearly. And it is saying, let's figure it out which particular customer segment and user persona we want to focus first. Before we talk about feature A and feature B, because we are doing roadmap conversation, we need to have an agreement on user persona, because the question is clearly indicating one user segment, one group is talking about young customers, another group is talking about HR or corporate customers. Yeah. So which one is more important for us? Let's have an agreement about that, and then we probably agree on the details further. Now, somebody will say, oh, but that should have been done in advance. But looks like that is not there. That's the reason of this whole conflict. Yeah. So we also need to see what possibly the PMI wants to test when you are putting a question. We are clear that this question, since it's the roadmap stage, is not about feature prioritization. It's a direction prioritization. Yeah. So what kind of things we should do? Yeah. What kind of collection of features we should select, not a particular feature. So when you understand collection of feature is the focus, then you know that we need to have a strategic alignment before we get into the mechanics of this particular conversation. So from my side, the option C is the winner, because I want, before as a product owner I get into detail, I want to have agreement on the personas and market segment first. Yeah, that was question number 145. Let's start with another question, question number 146. So your team launched an MVP of a peer-to-peer learning platform targeted at university students. Okay. The value hypothesis was that students would actively engage in knowledge sharing if given a simple mobile-first platform with gamified recognition. Yeah. You plan to validate this through early engagement metrics and organic referral. Yeah. So you have created an idea which is focusing on learning, and you are focusing on university students, and your assumption was that these people will like simple application, and since it's a gamification, they will also share with each other, and this is how we will grow. You have seen it. Yeah. Now, however, that's happened. Initial result shows low engagement from students, suggesting the hypothesis was invalid. Yeah. So whatever you assumed for your MVP, that was not validating well. Yeah. That's the one information. So your MVP hypothesis is false. Surprisingly, then there's another twist. Corporate learning and development team began using the MVP informally and shared positive feedback, requesting features like skill directory and progress tracking. Yeah. So you have some positive hope coming in, but that hope is coming from somewhere, which was not part of your benefit hypothesis. This is a learning and development group, and they are also saying, why don't you add these things here? So that's the situation. So what should I do as a product owner? So this question is basically trying to test your understanding of the validation of MVP. Our previous questions in the 81 to 110 were focusing on, you understand that MVP is about early delivery and you need to have a minimum the features going there and you need to push it to the customer as soon as possible. But this question is talking about what happened after you gave the MVP and your assumption goes wrong. Option A, stop developing since the MVP failed to validate the original hypothesis. Candidate option. Once MVP failed, what do? You have two options. You either stop or you pivot. So stop is an option, possibly. But there could be a pivot option also. Let's see it. Option B, continue with the current product vision and expect future release to improve your students' engagement. In real life, you may want to do it. You may close your eyes and say, whatever was the MVP, I don't want to validate my hypothesis. I will try again. There is a possibility. And sometimes you may do a judgment. But when you are dealing with the exam, an exam is saying you did an MVP and MVP is failed, then you know what to do. You just don't continue doing the same mistake. So you definitely don't want to do it. Option B is not the option. Option C, build a full version of the product with both university and corporate feature to serve a wider audience. So this is a little bit showing something. It is saying, okay, increase your focus. In a way, you improve your vision. You are changing your vision. You are a little bit changing it. Now you target both the customer segment and let's build for both. Possible candidate option, better than anything else. A, B. C is because it shows some amount of pivot in the vision and it's saying, why don't we include both of them? Option D, revise the product vision and roadmap and explore shifting the focus from peer-to-peer students learning to a corporate skill sharing. Now this shows pure pivot. You're saying, let's explore. And it is not saying do it. So option C is saying, let's do it. Option D is saying, looks like we need to change our direction. Because our current MVP has failed. We better pivot. And when we are changing our direction, we are changing customer pivot. We were focusing on one customer type. Now we are focusing on different customer type. And probably we do another MVP to validate our focus on the learning and development department. And then we see if it is successful, we probably have a different product focusing to a different customer segment. So at least when you are dealing with exam, you go with this option. Because failure of MVP should result into either stop or changing the direction. Question indicates you that some positive hope is coming, which means you have to factor that information. Don't just consider it's a useless information. At least here, I am giving it with the purpose. So option D is good for this particular question. Question number 147. Your team is enhancing an already live customer self-service portal. Stakeholders have proposed a long list of enhancements such as multilingual support, ticket escalations, workflow, live chat integration, analytical dashboard. And these requests are backed by strong usage data and stakeholder confidence in the business value. However, delivering all of them together will delay the next release by several months. As a product owner, what should you do to enable early delivery? So yes, I want to do early delivery. In a way, question is very clearly showing me agile behavior. I don't have to find out my agile behavior and I need to see the details. Few things are very clear in the question. The customer seems to be very clear about what they want to achieve. They have strong data. There is no confusion. They want these all features. And they may probably want to, like, you can do it in a one go, but that will delay it. You want to do incremental delivery. So which incremental delivery option will be good? So more depends upon the option we have. Option A, prioritize the features that are easiest to build first to quickly show progress and impact. So in a way, this is focusing on prioritization. Definitely, I want to focus on prioritization based on value and impact rather than the easy alone. The effort may play a role. The time to finish the feature may play a role. If you are thinking like a cost of delay divided by duration WSGF mindset, you might have studied that in your content preparation. So it plays a role. But just based on easiness or the time it takes is not a good idea. Because nowhere it is said that all features are same valued. If the question says that all these features are same valued, then I may probably go with that. Option B, plan business release at the end of each iteration to continuously deliver value. Looks like a good idea. Yeah, we can say we will run sprints and at the end of every sprint, we will release. A good, decent idea. Let's see. Option C, collaborate with the stakeholder to identify the smallest set of feature that together delivers meaningful business value. Yeah. So now, should you release every iteration? Option B, or should you create a smallest business increment set? It could be within an iteration or it could be more than one iteration and then release it. Yeah. So the option C could be more frequent than B also, and sometimes it could be more than B also. That's the situation. Option D, split all features into user story and release each story as soon as it is completed. Yeah, so that seems to be pure agile. Yeah. So I would say option B, C, D, all are aligned to agile thinking. Yeah, they are all great. Now we have to compare in the given situation. Now, in your content, you might have studied about in your PMI-ACP exam content outline also, when you go into tools and technique, you learn about MBI and MVP. Yeah. So PMI keeps stressing on minimum business increment. So you know that we need to release as early as possible, but the release should make business sense. It should be incremental business value. Yeah, it can't be a story, it can't be a feature, it could be. Yeah, if there is a possibility of one story may also add an incremental value, or there is a possibility you need to collect few stories before incremental value can be delivered. Yeah, so I better choose a safe option, clear option, and I say, oh, I need to find out small incremental business value set and I will release it. Then I will find out another small incremental business value set and I will release it. I will release multiple minimum business increments. Yeah. So that's the term you should be familiar with. Directly, indirectly may get tested in your exam. And option C is the right option in case of question number 147. Question number 148. Yeah. Your team is enhancing the onboarding experience for a mobile health app. Okay. A designer proposes a new welcome screen with illustration and personalized tips. This change is expected to improve monthly onboarding rate and will take about one sprint to implement. Okay, yeah, new idea, great, it can make us more money. However, the product owner is concerned about the risk of losing the current performance if the new design fail. Yeah, so you have an onboarding application, there is a health app, people are onboarding it, you have a health app and there is an onboarding process, and your designer is coming up with a new idea and promising it will increase, but you are also worried, what if it does not increase? Yeah, so what should I do as a product owner? So I want to take a new idea, but I'm also worried about the risk associated with this idea. Yeah, so this question can be seen as a risk question also. Yeah, but this is something you are figuring out, how do we move forward in this situation? Okay, ask the team to develop the new version and demo it to the product owner and internal experts before going live. Not a bad idea. Align with the agile process. You want to have an incremental value delivery. Working software is a real measurement of progress. Idea only makes sense when I can see it running. All good. The only negative point is it is evaluated by me and my stakeholders, and I may not represent the real business mindset, the real end user's mindset. I have my own biases. So internal validation is a good, but if I get external validation, then it's a better idea rather than stakeholder validates it. So let's see if we have a better option. Option B, conduct a A/B test by showing the new design to a subset of users and comparing result with those who see the current version. So if you are aware of A/B testing, that seems to be a good answer. Yeah, pretty good answer. Let's explore it after some time. Let's see other options first. Yeah, but it's a good candidate option. Option C, release the new version to all users, monitor results for 2 weeks, and roll back if it is underperformance. Not at all a bad idea. I'll say I will go, but I will keep eye on it. I will validate the hypothesis of new design. I do a new design release, and if my hypothesis is not coming true, I will do a rollback. Yeah, a good option. Option D, run a collaborative workshop with the development team to decide which version should go live. Now, I purposefully added it for those participants only who just want to do a keyword-based answer and they see a collaborative facilitation and they choose the right answer. Please don't do that. Yeah, you need to get into the details. At least this is what I believe. At least for PMI-ACP exam, you might have done it in your PMP exam. Yeah, but Here we need to get into more details. So option D is easy to out. Yeah, this has nothing to do because a developer's giving me a collaborative feedback doesn't make much sense. I need to go to the end user. So I left with B and C. B and C are very close options. In a real world, if they both were not present and something else was present, both are candidate to get right. Yeah, but since both are present, then we need to do a close comparison. So one option is A/B testing, which tells some set of user will get version 1, some test set of user will get version B, and you are observing which one is performing, and based on that you will switch. Yeah. So your risks are taken care because you are not letting your current version go out. You are running the performance evaluation in parallel. Yeah. So you are doing parallel testing. That's option B. Option C is let's go and observe, and if something goes wrong, we'll roll back. But there is a risk of 2 weeks because during this time, only one thing is working, other thing is not working. And your stakeholders may, if they are not liking it, then you have a 2 weeks loss. You may lose some customers. So but the good idea here is definitely you are keeping eye on it. You are ready to roll back if it is not making sense. But I already have a good option, A/B testing, which I have also studied in my exam content outline in my PMI-ACP workbooks, that this is one of the technique product owner should use for validating the idea. I go with it. Yeah, it is a good technique and it is fitting well here. Option B is the option for question number 148. Now, question number 149. In the last iteration, your team released a major increment that triggered several demos and deep feedback sessions with the stakeholders. Yeah. As the product owner, you have been heavily engaged in those conversations. Yeah, okay. And could not refine enough backlog items for the upcoming sprint. Yeah, you may see this case, familiar case. Yeah, and this may be an interview question as well, not just a PMI-ACP question. Your team typically pulls 5 user stories per iterations. Again, not going into story points here, but only 2 stories are currently ready. The sprint planning meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. What should you do as the next step? Yeah. What should you do? Yeah, product owner. So the situation is I'm not ready for a sprint planning. Yeah, I am partially ready. I'm say 40% ready, and because I was busy. Yeah, so basically I can only decide my behavior based on the options. Let's see. Option A: ask the team to plan the sprint with 2 ready stories and reserve the rest of the capacity for technical depths and improvements. Not a bad idea. You can do that. That's a possible thing which can happen. Yeah. Is it good? Yeah, maybe it is not taking care of priorities. It is just saying, since I don't have work for you, you guys do whatever makes sense to you in a little bit that manner. It is not a business decision of removing technical debt. It is just utilizing the slack time. Yeah. So can I do a better thing than just making them use their slack time into something else, or rather than slack time, where I am not clear about the priority, that time into some improvement? But good idea. Yeah, if I don't have a better option, I can choose that. Option B: ask the team to start with the 2 stories and assure them you will add more in 3 days once they are refined. Maybe you see it's a logically a right thing to do. Why not go like this? We can say we get started, we are agile, we will support collaborative working. So say in a practical word, it may be an option, but here we are dealing with the idealistic answer. Yeah. So I would say that the idea of Scrum is that when you finish iteration planning / sprint planning, you need to have a clarity about sprint goals. We can't just say that let's do it for a while and we will do a replanning after some time. Yeah. If we are doing it, then we are not following the core structure of Scrum, which is expected to which expects that we should have a clear goal for our upcoming sprint. Yeah. Now, it may look practical, but I better see if I have a more aligned answer, which may look practical as well as matches with the Scrum theories. Let's go with option C. Include high priority but unrefined stories in the sprint and plan to refine them during the sprint with extra contingency. Yeah. So you are saying, I'm not meeting definition of ready. I am giving you 2 stories which are ready, but these are the another 3 stories which makes importance for me. They are important, but I don't have time to refine them. You take it, yeah, right now, and we will refine it during the sprint. Yeah. And you can keep some contingency this time because we have little vagueness or uncertainty in our sprint planning. Looks a good idea. Yeah. So it takes care of continuous adaptation. User stories are negotiable. They are not expected to be frozen. And it is saying that let's get started, collaborate with each other. Yeah. And we are doing planning. We have a sprint goals identified, but refinement we will do further. Looks better. Yeah. Let's see option D. Cancel the sprint planning meeting, focus on backlog refinement and delay the start of the sprint by a few days. Now, practically, you may end up doing all this, but not a good idea. So option B and D are going against pure Scrum thinking. So Scrum believes in focusing on repeatable cadence where things happen at a defined time only. You don't play with it. Yeah. So you need to do sprint planning on the day when it is expected to happen. You don't want to change it. Yes, sometimes your planning is not strong. That can happen, but you still do the planning. You still start the sprint and you get something done. So option A and C are good. A is talking about letting team figure it out what they want to do, where C is talking about let's do some uncertain planning. We will refine it as we go along. Yeah. So I believe option C should be the right option. I have created all these options. And for the purpose of clarifying the understanding of what do you do when you have a situation where you are not ready for the sprint planning. The backlog is not ready for the sprint planning meeting. So I believe we need to collaboratively work together and resolve that problem, which is aligned with the Scrum theories. You may disagree, you may discuss it in a comment area, but this is what I believe. Yeah. Okay, moving forward to a final question for this video 150. A team is midway through a sprint to deliver enhancement to an internal HR dashboard. A senior vice president who is key sponsor and high influence stakeholder requests that a new report widget be added immediately, citing its importance for the upcoming board presentation. The team has 5 stories committed for the sprint. Yeah, they are like planned for the sprint rather than a word committed. I think that's not a good word. Yeah, they have a 5 stories planned for the sprint. I should have used that word. 2 are already in progress and 3 have not yet been started. Yeah. So you have a 2 stories in progress, 3 not started. That's the planning stage. You have a sprint goal. Yeah, the question is not clearly saying that you have a current sprint goals there. And what should you do as a product owner? Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, ongoing sprint, 5 stories planned, 2 stories started, 3 not started. Someone wants to change something in your sprint, some senior person, which is very difficult to ignore. And who are you? You are a product owner. What should you do next? Yeah, just next step. That's what we need to focus on. Option A, immediately swap one of the not yet started story with a new request to accommodate the stakeholder. Now, some of you might be doing it in reality, but from a Scrum perspective, this is not a good idea because it undermines the values of sprint planning. It undermines collaborative planning. It undermines the self-organizing nature of the team. Team should be doing the plan for the sprint in a sprint planning, not afterwards. Yeah. Now, if the question indicates that it is not impacting the sprint goal, then we probably do something. But more or less, the question shows that looks like it's something different, and you already have 5 stories which you wanted to do. Yeah. So changing, you already invested into analyzing those stories, talking about the work in a sprint planning meeting. It is not easy to replace. Yeah. Even though I gave in the question that you have not started working on it. Yeah. I purposefully added that idea to confuse that. Okay, should I replace it? No. Yeah. Option B, add the new item to the sprint backlog as an urgent addition and inform the team at the next stand up. So this is more dangerous than A, I guess. We are saying no change. You continue doing your work which you have planned, but this is a new thing, guys, we have to do. I will tell you in the upcoming daily stand up, we need to finish that. Yeah. So you are again self-organizing team, collaboration, discussion, all is going aside, and you are directly adding into the sprint. Should not be. Yeah. Option C, cancel the current sprint and start the new sprint that includes the new request. Possible. Yeah, possible option. But should you do it as a first step? Yeah, that's the only thing. Scrum tells when you see your sprint goals are not relevant and you have to drastically change your direction, you can cancel the sprint. Now, actually, that drastic situation is not shown here. It is not saying that your current sprint is useless and we need to get something else. Yeah, it is not showing that. But it's not an illogical thing. You probably end up doing as a product owner. Yeah, but situation is not that bad. Option D, respectfully negotiate with the stakeholder and offer to prioritize the request in the next sprint. Good idea, you negotiate. And we are saying, what will you do first? You may fail in the negotiation. Yeah. When you fail in the negotiation, you may end up doing something else. You may end up canceling the sprint, or you may end up replacing something which is not a good idea, but you may work with your team to collaboratively find out what should we do. But I have a safe option already. Yeah. I can say, oh, let me negotiate. As a product owner, I must negotiate and explain, there is a big impact of changing the sprint in between. Why don't you wait for one more week? We are already in the mid of the sprint, and we will do it as a important item in the upcoming sprint. Yeah. So I better negotiate, and that's a good idea. So these were another 10 questions for your product domain. Now you have 40 questions for your product. Yeah. 81 till 110, and this one is 141 to 150. I believe if you cover all these concepts well, you should be scoring good in your PMI-ACP product domain area, and focus on the concept. Just don't focus on finding the right options. If you're interested in our program, connect with us. We do have a just test program, just test prep program as well. And if you have any follow-up questions about a question we discussed or a topic, please put in the comment, and I will do my best to answer you.